What's up, everybody? Sammy33 coming back, another hot tag video. This video was requested by Cubs fan 2018. 10 top WrestleMania moments. So sticking with the prior theme, I'm not going for top 10 all time. I'm going for 10 big moments for me. Some I'm sure will be on the list, others may not be, but this is just my experience as a wrestling fan. 10 moments that I thought were big to me. I'm going to squeeze them all in one video. So, shall we get started? First up, it's WrestleMania. You know I'm a fan of The Undertaker. I'm going to go ahead and knock the obvious two out right away. The first one, the streak ending against Brock. I've covered it in another video. Just the shock. If you look at the video of after he got pinned, just the silence over the crowd. Everyone's surprised, mouths open, guys with their hands on their head like, I can't believe this happened. Some people cried because just like me, I actually did when it happened. I thought that meant that he was retiring because that's kind of the last thing that The Undertaker really had was the streak. With that gone, what would he continue to wrestle for? That's it. Kind of one of those things like that's the mystique of The Undertaker and it breaks it. You're assuming he's not coming back. Obviously, we know that he did. And we know what it did for Brock. Talked about it before. The second Undertaker moment is going to be him losing at WrestleMania 33 to Roman Reigns. And you saw it happening. You saw it was a tough match. It's not Taker's best work. He's older. Reigns tried to get the best out of him that he could. It was tough. Taker loses. Reigns gets the hell boot out of him, and I remember the pop that, or the boos he got not at Raw the next night were really, really bad. Like, yeah, like the heat that he got for beating Undertaker. But it's not so much that he beat him, it's what happened afterwards. It's Taker standing in the ring, everyone, paying their respects. Him taking off the gloves, the coat, the hat, everything, leaving it in the ring, and dropping back under the stage again. It made you think that's it. And obviously we know that's not the case. I will say though, had that have been it, that would have been the perfect way to go out, leaving everything in the ring, the hat, the trench coat, the gloves. Obviously, we saw what happened, with him coming back against Cena. Really well done, having all that stuff be in the ring, have it disappear, with the lightning strike and then the bells toll, and he's got all his stuff coming out to the ring. But with moments like that, like you remember where you're at. So Taker's out the way. I had to get those two. So now we can actually go to the rest of the list, which I think is the number one moment. The one I'm talking about next is Hogan body slamming Andre Giant. I'm pretty sure everyone that's a wrestling fan that is at least of 30 years old will say that moment. Because even if you didn't watch it live, you've heard so much about it and you've at least seen the pay-per-view to know how huge and monumental the moment that was. The body slam heard around the world. So I'm pretty sure I've covered that a little bit talking about Hogan and WrestleMania moments, so we don't have to talk about that too much, but I will go to another Hogan moment. Icahn versus Icahn. The Rock against Hogan. One of the few times that you kind of have two faces. I mean, he was the leader of the NWO, so he kind of was a heel at the time. It's kind of where they turned Hogan face and pulled him away from the NWO, but still, it's one of those weird dynamics where you have face in The Rock, heel in Hogan. But because of what Hogan is and what he means to the industry, it transcends. His character transcends it. So you have Hogan getting cheered and The Rock being booed at WrestleMania, which was really nice because it kind of led to The Rock turning heel later on after the fact off that match based on how Toronto treated him. But it was a pretty solid match, and for two guys that I don't think were necessarily great in the ring, it was a really well done match. Good story told. The Rock goes over, so as you typically have the old generation passing a win on to the newer generation, even though The Rock was eventually going to be on his way out. But it's a really nice moment just when they're standing in the ring together. before the match starts. Just the crowd, the energy in there. I don't think there's any other match that I can think of as far as like two legendary wrestlers that had that type of reaction. I always wanted to see a Austin Hogan match, kind of for the same reason. But hey, we get The Rock and Hogan, and it was a pretty damn good moment. And I'm even gonna stick with Hogan again. Hogan has been in this list a lot. He's been at a lot of WrestleManias though. WrestleMania 30. Everyone talks about the streak ending. Everyone talks about Daniel Bryan, the miracle, him winning the miracle on Bourbon Street, him winning the championship. Let's talk about how that event started. Hogan coming out, sharing the ring with Austin, who comes out after, also to a big roar. Also sharing the ring with The Rock. Three of the most legendary icons in the history of the WWE, pro wrestling, but the WWE, all in the ring at the same time cutting promos. You can't ask for a better start to a WrestleMania. I've seen some great ones. That, in terms of no matches, that is the best WrestleMania start that I think I could ever see. Adversaries between Austin and The Rock. And then you add Hogan to the mix, who is, in some ways, the personification of WrestleMania. WrestleMania happened and was able to be built going forward because of the greatness of Hogan and what he was able to do in the company at that time. When I have all three of them together in the same ring, you don't get moments like that a lot. You really, really don't. The reunion shows, anniversary shows, you'll have a guy pop up here and there, lady pop up here and there, but you don't get three guys that meant so much to the industry in the ring, interacting with each other at the same time like that. So that's pretty big. And ending Hogan, we'll go to moment number 6 if you're keeping count here. WrestleMania 6. Hogan defending the championship against the Ultimate Warrior. So the same thing I said earlier about Hogan and The Rock. These two guys are bigger than life. And this is a different dynamic because they're both faces. So shortly to go over, in most matches you want a heel face dynamic. It's easier to work, it's easier to manipulate the crowd. Heel, it's kind of tough. Technically you're both not supposed to be right. You both do dirty things. It doesn't work well together. When you have two faces, you're both supposed to be being cheered. It doesn't always work together. Because you always feel like one person has to kind of go do heelish things in order to really connect with the crowd. Doesn't always work that way. You can play off of their the love for particular wrestlers. It can be done. It's definitely been done over time. But that match was so huge. I remember it as a kid. Everyone liked Hogan, but everyone really liked the Ultimate Warrior. And it's like Hogan has been at the top for so long. The Ultimate Warrior was Intercontinental Champion at the time. Like, you want those moments. You want these guys to achieve that success. So for him to go toe to toe with Hogan and to win cleanly, the most important part of this, no shenanigans, no help in winning the match, one on one, mano a mano. The Ultimate Warrior wins, one of the few people to be both an Intercontinental Champion and WWF, well, WWE, whatever, heavyweight champion at the same time. Really, really big moment. I remember going crazy for it. And then, yeah, I liked Hogan as a kid. At the time, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, the yellow Hulkamaniac t-shirts, the red. But Warrior just hit a little bit differently. His matches were quicker, like he got you really pumped up, and the crowd was behind him. So it's nice to see them take the plunge on the Warrior to give him that mega star push. You don't always see it with some guys, because when you have that guy at the top of the mountain, it's like the glass ceiling kind of is here for everybody else. But it's one of the few times that they actually was like, we're going to go with this push. We're going to see what we can get with you. Was it a memorable title reign? Maybe not. But that moment of him pinning Hogan, that won't be forgotten. And I'm actually going to get back to Undertaker one more time. End of an era, WrestleMania 28. So 25 and 26, Taker faced Michaels. Beat him the first time, best WrestleMania match ever. Beat him the second time, retirement match for Michaels, ends his career. Then he faces Triple H at WrestleMania 27. Beats Triple H, but Taker got injured in the match. could not really make it out on his own power. That plays into the building of the storyline for 28. Hogan doesn't, or I'm sorry, Hogan. Triple H doesn't really want to have the match, doesn't want to kill the Undertaker. Undertaker wants to have it. This is also the first match Undertaker cut his hair. So he went shaved, which I remember when, like, I already knew his hair was shaved because they kind of alluded to it with the promos, but people had saw pictures. So when he took this, comes out with the hood coming down to the ring as opposed to the hat, and takes it off, and it's just different. So this match, Michaels is a special guest referee, Triple H, Hell in a Cell against, Triple H against the Undertaker with Michaels as the ref. Michaels tried to be impartial, but did, do some stuff in the match. The super kick slash pedigree combo to try to beat the streak, and Taker still kicks out. It wasn't a great match. Even as a Taker fan, I can admit, but it was a good story of how Triple H still couldn't overcome The Undertaker, how Michaels, kind of haunted by Taker ending his career, does that jealousy play a factor in how you officiate the match? Are you helping your best friend Triple H and trying to win, which it did, but then ultimately, friendship, as good as Triple H was, just still wasn't good enough to end Taker's streak. That tombstone is not what matters in that match. What matters is at the end of that match, when they all go up the ramp together, Michael is kind of helping to hold them up, and they turn back, and you have the entire crowd looking at the three of them. That's why I call it that moment the end of an era. As we move out of and into a new era of wrestling in the WWE, you have three guys from a previous generation all there who just put on a great, told a great story, and you have all of them three, even though they were adversaries at time, even though two of them literally just were, a couple minutes ago, all there acknowledging each other and acknowledging the crowd. It's like the passing of the torch to the next generation. Like, I thought that was a pretty cool moment. 7. 3 more. Let's end it on some good notes. I don't want to end it on a bad note. So get the other bad one out the way. WrestleMania 26. Or 24, sorry. Flair retires. Goes into the Hall of Fame the night before. You kind of get the feeling. Vince McMahon storyline wise, at the time, the next time Flair loses the match, he will be retired. And he makes the match of Shawn Michaels, HBK, against Ric Flair. Interesting because that was one of the idols of Michaels. They talked about it when he beat Bret Hart. Was it WrestleMania 12 or 14? No, it wasn't 14. It's 12. Really, really awkward moment. Just at the end. I'm sorry, I love you. The super kick. Everyone will remember that moment. The pin. Him saying something to Flair after and quickly leaving the ring to give him that moment, the acknowledgement of the crowd. Greatest performer ever in the history of the wrestling industry. Being the first guy to really get that type of retirement, that send off. It wasn't at the end of the show like it was WrestleMania 26 with Michaels. But he had that moment, acknowledges his family on the side. They're watching the match up close. The crowd, paying their respects to him. It was tough to watch because you don't like to see those types of sad moments. But knowing what he meant to the wrestling industry and to be able to have a great match at that moment, knowing as much as people love Michaels, everyone was rooting for Flair because no one wanted to see it come to an end. But to see it end and to see how the crowd acknowledged him and how he gave it back to us, much respect. 2 more moments. One that doesn't probably get talked about a lot because of issues. WrestleMania. The WrestleMania 20. Want to double check? Yes. WrestleMania 20. Eddie Guerrero defends the World Heavyweight Championship, or WWE Championship, sorry, against Kurt Angle. A little shady tactics, as Eddie Guerrero did during the time, but he outsmarts Angle. He successfully defends the championship. Benoit, triple threat match, wins the Royal Rumble, faces Triple H. Problem is, Benoit's a SmackDown superstar. Bischoff puts Michaels into the match. And then you have this kind of weirdness of, well, it's a triple threat match. And the one thing I do really like about this match is a good match. It is a really good match. Like, people can say what they want about Benoit. Benoit's a great wrestler, technical. God, his chops are ridiculous. I'd rather take Ric Flair or Big Show slap to the chest than take a chop from Chris Benoit. But the thing that was important is that not only did Benoit win the match, he won it by pinning or by submitting, tapping out the champ. Not Michaels, but Triple H. And he wins the championship. So his first World Heavyweight title reign in the WWE. And then what do you have? You have Eddie Guerrero coming out to celebrate with him in the ring. And why is this a big moment, you say? It's not only because it's Chris Benoit, who's had quite the journey. It's both of them together and what it personifies. I talked about it before. When you look at Vince McMahon, it was always the Giants, Hogan, Nash, Sid, always the big guys. Vader, Ultimate War. These are the guys that always got pushes. These are the guys that always were seen as main event caliber guys, where everyone else that was smaller was mid-card at best. There was this glass ceiling that existed for them. And then here it is on this night. You have two smaller guys in Benoit and Eddie Guerrero holding the two most prized championships in the company and having big matches on the big stage. The acknowledgement of the small guy can be that guy to carry you. Big. Very, very big moment. And then the last moment, one that I got to see personally, and it will always resonate with me. The cash in. The first cash in at WrestleMania. I'm sure there'll be more, but the first cash in at WrestleMania. Brock versus Reigns. Now I was watching the match, and I assume Reigns would win because it was one of those things. I didn't want Brock to have a championship because he's a part-timer. No one did, and we're kind of stuck with, well, we were booing Reigns because we don't want him to win the championship either. As I say a lot of times, it's the lesser of two evils. We have to get the belt off of Brock at what cost. We're going to have to give it to someone we don't want to give it to, but we do what we have to do in order to make sure that he, and I say he, Brock, doesn't have title. And we get the perfect moment late in the match. Boom. Seth Rollins cashes in, running down the ramp, and it's like, wait, what? How can you catch? First of all, my thought was I remember in our section, the thought was, how can he cash in? Does Reigns just get booted from this match? I said maybe it's a triple threat. I don't know. I don't know what you do. Sure enough, it's a triple threat. He wins. Sad thing is he wins. If I remember right, he pinned Reigns. He didn't pin Brock, which obviously led to Brock getting his rematch. Taker, interfering in that. But yeah, Reigns cashing in at WrestleMania makes it a triple threat match and literally steals the championship from Brock and Reigns in that match. That was such a cool moment. And it started to me, it was a memorable, kind of some missteps there, but a memorable run as heavyweight champion. This is after he lost to Orton early in the night in one of the most memorable RKOs I can think of. But the big moment, the big stage, what could be a bigger moment than that? You cash in on the grandest stage of them all. And not only do you cash in and you win the championship to close out the show. Doesn't get better than that. There are your 10 WrestleMania moments. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.